Alright guys, so we have already wired up our intake air temperature sensor. We got it wire loomed. Then we have our heat resistant or heat retardant electrical tape. That part's done. So now we're moving on over here. So for this 3-port electronic boost controller, I was just kind of looking things over, seeing where I was going to mount it. And I think we're going to go right here. So it's going to sit right behind the radiator, right here on the driver's side headlight, on the driver's side rad support. That's where we're going to mount it. I'm doing that for 2 reasons. One, this wire that they gave me, it's a good length. I don't want to add additional wire to it. So in order for it to mate to my existing harness, I'm going to mount it there so I'm not adding additional wire. I just don't want to add additional resistance to this wire. I mean, I could, it wouldn't be a big deal, but I'm not going to do that. I'd like to mount it right there, but the harness doesn't reach far enough, so not a big deal. But what we have here is, I know a lot of people have been wondering how to wire in or where to wire in an aftermarket electronic boost controller. I found for me, since I deleted the OEM plastic intake manifold and went with this one here, the Skunk 2 or Skunk Pro intake technology manifold, it deletes the IMRC solenoid, so you don't need it anymore. And this was the original wire for it. I already cut the connector off and kind of prepped it for wiring in the actual three-port boost controller. But if you look, I got my computer out. If you look here for this vehicle, if you look here at the IMRC solenoid valve, it's actually perfect for an electronic boost controller. Reason being is I kind of discovered this in my own research. It has this 10 amp fuse that it's protected by, the OEM solenoid, and then it's powered by the ECM, and then ECM obviously having its own ground. So you have this black wire with a yellow tracer. So if you look, you got your black wire with your yellow tracer, okay? So that's gonna be your 10 amp fuse ground, all right? And then you have your red wire with your blue tracer. So if you look, you got your red wire with your blue tracer. So again, this original pigtail was used for the intake manifold runner control solenoid. Basically, the OEM system has it to where there's different runners for depending on what speed the engine's at, just for better airflow and better fuel mileage. But we don't need that anymore, and it just turns out to be a perfect setup for the electronic boost controller. Again, for the boost controller, you do want it to be protected by a fuse. In this case, you want it to be protected ideally by a 10 amp fuse. We have that here with the black and yellow wire. And then we have our power wire, which you want to be controlled by the ECM anyway, because when this goes to get tuned, the tuner is going to need to be able to control or set the electronic boost with vacuum, and he's going to need to be able to do that through via the ECU. So this is the best setup that I found in my case. I know some other people are doing other stuff, and I mean, as long as it works, it works. As long as it's safe and works properly, then it's not a bad job. So I'm gonna do it this way. It's cheap, it's effective. And by doing this, I don't need to buy an additional wiring harness. There are wiring harnesses out there. Hybrid Racing, I believe K-Series and K-Tuned also make an aftermarket wiring harness, like a tucked wiring harness. I don't want to spend the money for that, not right now. I mean, you can see this build, guys. It's not, this engine bay is nothing to look at. It's not a, you know, it's not a showcase engine bay. It's just, it's for function only. It looks a little messy, but we should get the power numbers we want from this setup. So again, I probably will go Hybrid Racing or K-Tuned or something like that later as far as a wiring harness, because again, those wiring harnesses are nice, they do look good. And like I said, those harnesses actually come with additional butt connectors, or I should say they come with additional pigtails to where you can wire in electronic boost controller, some sort of meth injection or nitrous oxide. So they're really cool harnesses, but they're like 700 bucks. And I ain't paying for that. So again, hopefully you guys find this useful. I know I've kind of already done all the homework and research on it, so you guys don't have to. But, and this goes for any car, if you're going aftermarket parts and you're able to delete certain things, and you can repurpose or reuse or scavenge those harnesses or parts for something else, I mean, definitely do it. So this worked for me. I'll get this connected and I'll show you the finished product.